Hello everyone, it's your fellow cartoon human as Comic Maker delivering you a tasty artistic treat. Today we're going to be doing something that I am very excited about. We'll be trying out ParKoo's new 80 pack of dual tip art markers. In the past I've worked with ParKoo trying out their permanent markers, so when they reached out and asked if I wanted to try out their new alcohol based markers, you know your girl had to jump at that. You see, the typical markers that you've seen me use on my channel are Copic markers, and they can be hecka expensive, going anywhere from $6 to $8 for one single marker. So for a lot of artists, especially beginners who want to try markers like this but can't afford them, you are in luck. There are actually a lot of companies now that are creating markers that more artists can afford, which is super awesome. Back in my day, we didn't have nearly as much variety or variation in affordability. You either ate food or you bought markers. There was no in between, and those were the times. So today I will be taking a look at the 80 pack of dual tip alcohol markers by ParKoo. First off, I have to give it up for the packaging. I believe that Ohuhu has a fabric zip bag to keep all of your markers together, which is great, but I really appreciate this carrying case. It very nicely holds all the markers and feels really sturdy. It'd be super easy to put in a luggage if you were traveling and really wanted to work on some art. If you don't have any shelves or storage for art supplies too, the case is really nice to just pack up and put away. The shape of the markers themselves are kind of like a rounded triangle with little bumps on the caps to give you a grip, and the shape helps keep it from rolling around on the table. Each of the markers are labeled so that you can see which side is the fine tip side, which is also indicated by gray underneath the cap. And then of course the other side is labeled for the chisel tip side. But my favorite thing by far is the swatch chart that is included with the markers. As an artist, it is really important to swatch the colors you're going to use before using them so that you can make sure you're using the color you actually want to use. I know that sounded like a mouthful, but I will explain why. Especially with markers, oftentimes the cap at the top of the marker is not necessarily the color that you get when you actually use it. But it was really awesome that ParKoo included it in this kit, and it's small enough to fit inside the carrying case, so you get to keep all of your stuff together. We'll talk a little bit more about the colors and the cap colors in a minute though. Working with the swatch chart, the colors went down pretty well, although there were some colors that I had to go over multiple times since the color swatch card was such a thick paper. But after swatching, it was time for the super awesome fun part. On my Discord server, I asked you guys to send me some of your OCs. Besides request streams, I used to make videos where I would choose the original characters of some of my subscribers and draw them. It had definitely been a long time since I was able to do that, and trying some new markers was the perfect opportunity to draw your babies. I chose 8 of your characters based on how many colors out of the pack of 80 markers I could use, and chose some based on the fact that I wanted to try and blend these markers. Believe me, I would spend forever drawing all of your characters, but there's only so much time in a day. I skipped the recording for sketching and inking these characters since we are focused on coloring today, so we're going to get right into that with these sweet babies. As I talk about these markers, I'll be showing the original art from the creators of these characters alongside them, as well as the Discord names of the artists who made them. So thank you so much to everybody who submitted a character, and an extra thank you to all of the people who let me use their characters for this video. For these markers, I wanted to test a couple of things. Do they have a decent amount of skin tones? Can they layer pretty well? And most importantly to me, can they blend? So the colors that they provide you in this pack of 80 are all very vibrant and really pigmented. Despite the fact that the color cap is very different from the color of the marker in some cases, they were all full of nice juicy color. Having the caps of the markers be a different color than the color of the marker itself can seem like a really big negative. I find that for me, I tend to look at my color swatches more than the caps of my markers to begin with, so this really wasn't a big problem for me. I would just check the chart and grab the color I needed by looking for its corresponding number. A lot of the colors were mostly mid and darker tones, and the lightest colors were neon looking, so I would have liked to have some more pale or pastel colors, but I was able to color most of these just fine with the colors provided. There were also a decent variety of skin tones, but maybe not enough to blend your colors to get a softer transition of lights and shadows. As far as layering is concerned, they acted as well as most other alcohol-based markers would, so I was pretty impressed with that. As long as you take your time and make nice solid strokes, you should be able to get some good clean color from this set. I will say though that paper matters. When doing my swatches, I noticed that I would have to make multiple layers on the swatch card in order to make a solid color for some of the markers. But layering can make your colors darker, so that's important to keep in mind too. I was worried that I would have the same issue when it came to drawing the characters as I did when I was doing the swatches, but I was pleasantly surprised to find that I had no issues with splotchy colors on the sketchbook that I used. But I specifically used a sketchbook that is good for markers like this, so keep that in mind when you're picking your paper. Everything that I use though will be in the description if you need it. But I will say that if you have a thicker paper like cardstock, you might have this issue, and if you have thinner paper, definitely have a couple sheets behind it to prevent bleed through. Lastly, how is their blendability? I tested this out with 2 characters, trying different methods when layering colors. I chose this character because the hair changed from yellow to orange and thought that it would be a good way to test blending different colors together. Overall, it went pretty well. The marker paper that I had made it really easy to mix the colors together, and the result was a very solid fade from yellow to orange. On the second one, I tried to stay in one color, so I chose this awesome character to try going from a light blue to a dark blue, but this time I was more concerned about trying to just layer the colors as opposed to blending them together. But to really put them to the test, I made a sunset inside of a circle to try blending them as best I could. This time I used the chisel tip nib instead of the fine tip. It took a lot of going back and forth, but you would do this with any kind of marker anyway, so it's not that uncommon. It's important when blending the colors to try and go back and forth with the colors quickly while they are still slightly wet to try and achieve an even blend. All of the markers I used in this test worked out really well and still have plenty of life in them, even with drawing all 8 characters and that sunset. For this drawing session, I tried to use as many of the colors as I could to really see how they all worked, and overall, I really enjoyed them a lot. If you're an artist who has always wanted to try alcohol-based markers, these are a pretty great starter. The price for them as of this video is $29.99 on Amazon, making these markers about 37 cents a marker, which is amazing. So, the final verdict. What did I think overall? Well, the colors laid down smoothly. It comes in a great case with a very handy swatch card that I use through all of these drawings, and they're pretty affordable. I think this would be great for anyone trying alcohol-based markers for the first time. Of course, ideally, I wish that they had a brush nib, but if you take your time with these, you can get some really lovely solid colors with your work. If you're curious about the other markers that I reviewed by ParKoo, I'll leave an iCard here where you can watch them as well. I definitely plan on doing more videos like this in the future, where I try out art supplies while drawing your original characters, so keep an eye out for announcements about that in the future.
But as comic maker, where can I see your announcements if you make one?
Well, I'll make announcements on my Discord server, which I give invite links to during my streams, and I'll also make a YouTube community post with instructions on how to join.
Well, that doesn't sound too bad. Maybe I'll submit an OC of my own.
Wait, Banana Man, you have an original character that you made?
Yeah. It's a really cool adventurer guy who's yellow and half moon-shaped with freckles, a dashing smile that the ladies absolutely love. He wears a sleek black hat, has rippling muscles, and owns a yacht.
Banana Man, that just sounds like you, but buff and rich.
What? No, it's totally different.
Oh yeah? What's his name?
It's Benjamin Manning.
Benjamin Manning.
Yeah, he's really cool. Anyway, I got lots of backstory to write, so I'm gonna go now. Bye!
Okay. Well, that's it for me this week, guys. If there are any art topics you'd like me to cover or any art supplies you'd like me to try out, let me know in the comments down below. As always, videos like this are possible because of my amazing patrons and people like you who like, comment on, and share my videos. I appreciate you all stopping by, and I hope that we can draw together again soon. Bye, guys.